Greetings, YouTube. 大家好. Tony the Changfilth here. Tony creator on DeviantArt. Today I have NECA's 8-inch Kratos from the God of War franchise. After 2 weeks of watching footage of the new God of War game and seeing images of this new figure, I chose to find one myself. I succeeded by exchanging my unopened Lady Thor figure for Kratos at my local Target. Had to pay about $6 to make up for the difference though. Before I did all that, I spotted the 18-inch Kratos at the same Best Buy where I bought my 12-inch Thor figure, but even I knew that that toy was too large and too expensive for my taste. I'll settle for this smaller one. Before we proceed, I confess that I barely played the God of War games growing up. I haven't even heard of the franchise until God of War 2 was released on the PlayStation 2 in 2007, just 3 months before I finished high school. Seeing younger Kratos hack and slash with his chained blades of chaos made me want to jump and swing imaginary twin blades myself, no matter who was watching. Come on, I'm sure that fellow God of War fans still want to do that too. Mimicking Kratos' movements to relive visceral and pulse-pounding combat is great exercise at least, even if you're not fighting gods and monsters that tower above humans. Perhaps this review will let me make up for missing out on yet another beloved video game series. Boy. Before we look at Kratos himself, here are his accessories. He has his new Leviathan axe, a small dagger, and a large shield. Major changes from the twin blades that he had in his prime. First off, Kratos' axe has great paint and sculpt work. The silver painted axe blade has inscriptions etched in, which I obviously can't read. There are 2 blue dots painted on both sides of the axe to resemble the glowing blue lights seen on the axe in the game. The axe handle is sculpted to look like brown wood with layered straps molded in. The axe can be split in 2, making the axe easier to place into Kratos' right hand or the sheath on his back. Forcefully wedging the axe into position without separating both halves of the axe is still an option. Kratos' small dagger looks and feels adequate. Curved painted blade with a light brown wash added in, and a molded brown handle with layered tan straps. The dagger can be placed in Kratos' right hand, but that hand won't grip said dagger tightly. You can see the dagger easily falling out. The dagger's best use is being sheathed on his left, but there's one more use for the blade that I'll explain later. Finally, his massive bronze-painted shield has a brown or black wash painted all around to resemble wear and tear. The sculpt and detail on the front and back of the shield is just as adequate. The back of the shield also has red painted on the layered design pattern. Placing the shield on his left forearm can be troublesome. First, you have to remove one of these small silver-painted pieces on his left gauntlet. That's what the small dagger's for. Once that's done, pay attention to the smaller rectangular peg. That must be on the front if you want to peg the shield onto Kratos' left forearm properly. The downsides? First, the small silver-painted piece from earlier has nowhere to be placed on the figure now. The small pouch molded on Kratos' back doesn't open for the piece to be placed inside. If you do decide to have the small piece on the forearm instead, the shield has nowhere to go. In this case, you'll have to choose one accessory over the other to be placed on Kratos. You! Let Deimos be taken! Ahem, pardon me for celebrating the God of War series too much. Also, this video is not meant to accuse the gods of kidnapping children. Behold the former Spartan, Kratos himself, who stands at an impressive 8 inches. NECA outdid themselves with this figure. Kratos has immaculate and intricate paint and sculpt work. So immaculate and intricate that you might as well be looking at his in-game 3D model right now. For the most part, Kratos' new outfit makes him more suited for snowy weather, if you don't count the fact that he's still shirtless. He wears separate brown armor with segmented shoulder pads on his right. That separate armor piece also stores his axe, by the way. His brown painted forearm gauntlet on his left lets him display his shield, which I showed earlier. His right forearm has molded wraps covering up old wounds that only God of War fans know about. Kratos wears a textured brown loincloth, where a red pouch, a brown pouch, a sheath for his knife, and a red horn are all glued onto. Beneath his loincloth are molded red strips that remind us of his Greek origin. Since he's fighting in frozen wastes, he's obviously wearing textured black pants, which the figure displays very well. Finally, he seems to be wearing brown boots with sculpted straps on his calves. I don't know how else I can be more descriptive than this. I repeat that Kratos looks immaculate and intricate, whether you pose him or not. I'll get to posability later. A close-up of Kratos' stoic face shows more of NECA's stellar workmanship. His beard is so detailed that you can almost count the individual facial hairs on him. Not advisable. There's also some white paint scattered throughout his beard, either indicating his age or random snow that got caught up in his beard from running around in snowy Midgard. The coarsely white paint and the red tattoo on his face also settle well on him. Don't forget the painted yellow eyes. A shame that the toy doesn't have an alternate screaming head, or else I could attach that on the figure to recreate his Spartan rage moment. For now, this will have to do. Boy. On to the articulation. Kratos has a double ball-jointed head, letting him rotate and or tilt his head. Shoulders can swivel forward and backward. Bicep swivel. Shoulders can swivel or hinge up or down, but use that joint sparingly or else you could snap the bicep swivel. Sometimes the right shoulder pads can block the movement of the shoulder swivel, so pay attention to those shoulder pads every now and then. Tough double-jointed elbows, so either loosen them up or just move them sparingly. His left wrist can hinge forward and backward, while his right wrist hinges left to right. Both wrists can rotate 360 degrees. Waist has a tight ball joint that lets him rotate or pivot all around, but I won't use that too much. Kratos has soft hinged ratchets in his hips, if I'm not mistaken. His left leg seems to have softer ratchets though. There might be another set of ratchets allowing his legs to kick forward and backward, but I can't tell for sure. Tight thigh swivel. Very tight double-jointed knees. Ankles? He has hinged ankle tilts and swivels. Tight swivels. Don't know if I showed these well enough, but his ankles can also ratchet forward and backward. Finally, he has ratchets behind his toes. First time that I owned a figure that had those. Boy. For size comparisons, here's Kratos standing alongside Funko's Ajani Goldmane from Magic the Gathering The Legacy Collection. Ajani stands at about 7 3/4 inches tall, putting him slightly above Kratos' eyes but below his forehead. I realize that both Kratos and Ajani are very similar. How so, other than they both wield axes and have similar skin tones? The list might not be complete, but here goes. 1. Their skin tones caused people to fear them, thinking that the colors gray and white brought doom and bad luck. 2. They fought gods in combat. In Kratos' case, he slaughtered almost an entire pantheon. Ajani's reasons were more benevolent, if Magic the Gathering fans are correct. 3. They've lost siblings and others close to them. 4. Their current weapons are also tragic keepsakes, reminding them of those whom they lost. 5. They mentor future warriors. Kratos, however, at least teaches his son to be less bloodthirsty than he was in his youth. Am I missing any more details? For one more comparison, here's Kratos next to the Marvel Legends 12-inch Thor. I saw the secret ending to God of War, if the beginning of this video didn't clue you in. I know that we won't see Marvel's version of the Norse Thunder God in a future God of War game, but having Kratos and any large and articulated Thor figure together in the same shot is picture perfect regardless. Boy. Viewers, it is time to end this. Is Kratos' most recent action figure a must-have? If you're a God of War fan who happens to have enough money to buy fan merchandise, then this one might be for you. Remember that Kratos here has been expertly made by NECA, but he's far from perfect, as I said earlier. Still scratching my head about what to do with the accessories that I can't store on him. Kudos to the viewers who got this far in the video review. I'm Tony the Changfilth, also known as Tony Creator on DeviantArt. Feel free to comment and all that, and also feel free to visit my DeviantArt page. Link in the description as usual. Thanks again for watching. 多謝收睇.